to the Coastal Kitchen. I'm so happy to have my friend Dave Gundrum from Roberto's Restaurant here with me today. He's going to share his mom's recipe for chicken cacciatore. We're going to do Caesar salad, and then I'm going to make some chocolate amaretto biscotti. Take it away, Dave.
All right, thank you, Karen. Yep, this is my mom's recipe for chicken cacciatore, so I'm going to make everything just the way she's made it with only 1 or 2 small changes. Chicken cacciatore is basically an old Italian dish that is a real slow, it's usually a slow cooking type dish. You start off with your chicken. All right, now Mom would use bone chicken, a whole chicken. She just cut up a fryer. We're going to change that a little bit to keep the amount of oil down, because after you cook her style, you have to depouler, take off all the oil at the end, and also we just want to get the fat down. And you still end up with the great flavor. Since we're not cooking the bone with it, we're going to replace that flavor with some chicken stock. And that's what you can do at home when you're cooking recipes. If you take off the skin and use deboned chicken, in a recipe that wouldn't normally have chicken stock, add that in, and it gives you that flavor that you take away. All right, so I have 6 chicken breasts, which I left a little bit of the fat on, and I just basically filleted them in half. And that's where we're going to start off with that. And I'm just going to take some flour, a whole cup of just regular all-purpose flour, and we're going to add some pepper to it, just to season a little bit. I guess these are about 2 teaspoons of flour, a little more on the salt, probably about 3 of those. All right. And mix that up together. I don't have a thing here, but I'm going to get my hands in this chicken anyways. All right, so you want to go ahead and just lay your chicken in real quick. Doesn't have to stay on there too long. And this is just to brown the chicken a little bit, and also what it does is it helps thicken your sauce later on and adds the flavor to it. All right. That's that simple. Wash off the hands. Now we're going to use a large, heavy pot, a brazier or one of these roasting pots. All right, and you could even use a large saute skillet if that's all you have. All right, now we'll take half a cup of oil. Now we're using extra virgin olive oil, which adds a lot of flavor. I recommend that. Turn it on medium heat and let that start to warm up. And the chicken here is still sitting for another minute. All right, it's been a couple minutes and the chicken and the flour have kind of binded together so it won't come right off. The oil's warmed up, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to saute it off. All right. Yeah, nice little sizzle there. You don't want the heat too high, okay, because you're going to be using this oil also to saute your vegetables in. All right. Oh, man. That'll take a couple minutes. And then after we get the chicken sauteed off and ready to go, we're going to start prepping our vegetables. First thing we want to prep is our onion, our green pepper, and get them ready to go. Just a regular green bell pepper. On this recipe, don't use a red pepper. It's going to be too sweet for this recipe. I've tried it that way, and the red pepper gets lost in the sauce, where you want that pungent flavor of the green pepper in this. All right, let's just take the top off. Take your seeds out. And we're going to do with a kind of a rough chop. Yeah, perfect. Just the chicken and the olive oil, the extra virgin olive oil, smells good by itself. So you know you're going to have a good recipe when just that smells good. Okay, let's do our onion now. Let's turn our chicken. All right. Now go ahead and take the first batch out. Now you don't have to cook the chicken all the way through. You know, just about 80–90% because it's going to go back in the pot. So don't have to worry about that right now. You just want to get a light brown on there. All right, let that work for a minute. And we'll give our onion a nice little quick check. Here. All right, we're going to need a little garlic so we don't bust up that bulb a little bit. Oh, ricochet garlic. All right. I'm going to use in this dish probably 5 cloves of garlic for this recipe. Now, of course, this will all be online for you, so you can make this at home. And all right, let's check our chicken. Wow. All right. I always find it easy to get the skin off the garlic, which if you try to peel garlic without pressing it a little bit and breaking that, it's really hard. But of course, it comes right off if you give it a little press. So now we got the garlic, got the onions. I'm going to chop that up in a second here. Got to check my chicken. Oh yeah. Just a little bit of brown on that. Now don't do the temperature too high. You don't want to take the oil to the smoke point, okay? Especially extra virgin olive oil. You don't want to overheat that oil. All right. We can go ahead and add in our onion, our green pepper. Now you might have a smaller cutting board at home, but there we go. Quick stir. Now you got some more new flavors coming out of there already. Let's go ahead and smash up the garlic. Get our skin out of there. You can do a rough chop on this because it's going to be cooking for a while and it's going to really soften up and break down the sauce. And there we go. All right, so we got the garlic in there, the green peppers, and the onions. Keep it on medium heat. Don't be in a hurry with this recipe because it's a slow cooking recipe. Now we're going to add some mushrooms. This is some white domestic mushrooms. You could use portocinis or you could use your favorite, if you want to use a portobello, the baby portobellos would be nice in this. You don't want to make them too small. You want to leave them kind of large, okay? So this is 1 pound of mushrooms. I'm just going to cut them in half. We have a lot of mushrooms in here. And this is a dish you want to have. Put all our mushrooms in. Ooh. All right. And a quick stir. So bring that camera over and take a good look inside here. Alrighty. Now those are the main ingredients already. Next thing we're going to add is a little bit of the herbs. And we're going to go with a little bit of thyme. About at home, I'm just going to eyeball it, but I'm using, for this much, just about 1.5 teaspoons of thyme. And we got a little oregano here, and about the same amount of oregano. 1.5 teaspoons of oregano. We're going to use a lot of basil. We got some fresh basil. Let's tear off a few leaves here. Let's see. I don't want to destroy the plant. I find if you tear the leaves off, they grow back better than if you cut them. Actually, if you pinch that end piece, that really makes them. So we want a good bit of basil. Let's see. Probably about a quarter cup. Give that a chop. Again. That should be enough basil. All right. Now the dried herbs usually take a little longer to put, they'll infuse with the oil as they simmer a little bit. All right. Wow. I haven't made this dish in a couple years, so I'm kind of excited. Alrighty. Now we've got 2 cans of whole tomato. They're 28-ounce cans, so I like to start off with the whole tomato. It'll break up in as it cooks, so you don't really have to break them up with your hand or anything. As you're stirring, you can break them up, and as they cook, they'll break up. Now we're going to take some white wine, okay, and you could over wine this dish, so you don't want to put too much in. So you probably want to put about for this amount, you're going to want 3/4 of a cup to a whole cup. More than that would be just too much. All right. About that much. What I did on that, I kind of just measured my thumb. I knew where I was at, and I took it down, eyeballed it a little bit there. All right, so that was at least 3/4 of a cup. You want to let it cook for at least 3 or 4 minutes here to get all the alcohol out, because we're going to be at a low temperature. You don't want to leave any of the alcohol in. So we'll let it cook for 3 or 4 minutes right now to get the alcohol out before we add anything else. But we can go ahead and add the basil at this time. All the smells are coming together. This is really, it smells really good. All right, let's add the chicken back in. You can just put it all back in there. Any juice or olive oil that's on the plate, you can pour that back in. Actually, I cook by smell quite often, and I think I need just a little more wine in there. Just a little bit. About another 1/4 cup. Alright, now I'm going to use a fettuccine for this. So I've already got my water boiling. I've got just a regular dried fettuccine. Bring that temperature up a little bit. Let that cook for another minute, get that wine cooked, the alcohol cooked out of the wine. And we're moving along pretty good. Alright, now when we dredged the chicken in flour earlier, it gave us the color for the chicken, but it's also helping make the sauce. It's binding with the oils and making a little bit of a thicker sauce, which is great. And now we're going to go ahead and add our chicken stock, which we've got a full 1.5 cups here. And going to add that in. We'll just add all of it in. All right. Let that simmer in for just a second. Now we're ready for the tomatoes. We'll just add all these in. Okay. Now you just have to break up the tomatoes with your spoon. Turn them in there.
Wow, Dave, the smell is absolutely wonderful. I'll tell you what, this is great. Now, is this something that you cover and cook?
No, you're going to want to reduce it down because you got all the vegetables in here and the tomatoes, and you want to kind of reduce your stock. You want to kind of let it concentrate. That's why we don't need to use a paste in here. These tomatoes here are going to give us all the tomato flavor we need as it cooks down. So you just let it kind of wisp and evaporate through the house. And that's what gives you the great smells. Because Mom will be cooking this for like at least 45 minutes is at least the minimum you want to cook this. But if you're going to cook it for a couple hours, just turn it on real low and just let it slowly simmer and stir it. And your tomatoes are going to soften up, and you kind of break them up with your spoon.
Well, Dave, we're going to take a break right now. We're going to come back in a few minutes after a word from our sponsors and make some biscotti.
Oh, that smells good.
When you start with local produce, add some homegrown Carolina pride, and mix it all with a commitment to family, you get more than a locally based grocery store. You get the taste of home. Lowe's Foods. Lowe's Foods, proud sponsor of the Coastal Kitchen and ATM CTV.
Welcome back. We're going to make some chocolate amaretto biscotti. Now, this is my version, and I've got 2½ cups of flour, and I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and I'm going to put in ½ cup of cocoa. This is unsweetened cocoa. So let's put that together. Want to give that a nice stir, and I like to use a fork when I do this because it just brings everything together real nicely. Just give it a good stir, and let's put that right there on the side. Using a mixer, I'm going to put in my next ingredients, which are 2 eggs, and I've got those at room temperature. I'm going to put in a cup and a quarter of sugar, a quarter of a cup of melted butter, and let's put some coffee in there, instant coffee. And I'm going to use the grounds, and I'm going to put in 1 heaping tablespoon, equals about 2 teaspoons. Then I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and secret ingredient, I'm going to put in a quarter of a cup of amaretto liqueur. Now, biscotti is sort of a stale biscuit, and with this, I am not going to make it as toasty. So let's mix this up for about 2 minutes. All right, all mixed up, and now we're going to add our flour a little bit at a time. So I'm going to put my little shield on my mixer, and I'm going to take this, and we're going to put in a little bit at a time. I'm going to put about, not quite a third of it, about 1/4 of the mixture, and you want to incorporate all of the flour before you add more. All right, let's get this last little bit in, and here we go. Let that mix, and I'm going to clean this up just a second because I'm going to need this space. Okay, it's almost ready. We just got one last little thing to put in. Okay, there goes the end of the slivered almonds. We're going to put this back on just to mix them up for just a sec. Give it a minute or 2. That's good. Now, this is sticky, and we want to make sure that we get everything off of this beater. Okay, one more shake here. Now, this is the tricky part. Not hard at all. Let me grab my pan. I've got a greased pan right here. I'll slide this over just a sec. Got some flour, and I'm just going to run this around just a sec so I can divide it in half. Okay, about got it. Flour your hands up. Move that over here, just a light flour. And we're going to take about half of the dough. Now, this is going to be sticky. what we're going to do is we're going to fold it in together. Want it to be dense. You can see those almonds. And we're going to form it into a log shape. Lay it flat. And now I'm going to flatten it out just a little bit more. I want it about 2 inches in diameter here. Making it into a beautiful flat surface. And I like to take my fingers and press it down just like that, so you've got a nice texture when it's baked. Okay, I'm going to finish the next one. I'll be right back.
When you start with local produce, add some homegrown Carolina pride, and mix it all with a commitment to family, you get more than a locally based grocery store. You get the taste of home. Lowe's Foods. Lowe's Foods, proud sponsor of the Coastal Kitchen and ATM CTV.
It's time to get our biscotti out of the oven. Ooh, it looks wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, I'm going to put this right here, just semi on my rack, because we're going to let this sit for just a few minutes. We're going to take it off, put it on our cutting board, and cut it into about 1-inch slices. And we want it to look like fingers. So let's get started. Okay, it's nice and hot, but I'm going to cut the little end off right here. And you can use a serrated knife if you'd like, but I like to save this piece for me. Okay, we're going to cut about 1 inch. And these cookies, they'll crumble a little bit. So don't worry, just keep right on cutting. Okay, I've just finished cutting the second loaf. Let's go ahead and put this on our pan and get it back into the oven. About 5 minutes. You might want to leave it just a touch longer if you'd like a little bit crispier or crunchy biscotti. Okay, just about there. Doesn't that look pretty? Okay. Just remember to face them up. And in they go. I'm going to take these out in just a few minutes, turn them over, and I'm going to put them on a beautiful plate, and we'll be ready for our dessert. Let's go to Chef Dave. He's going to make croutons and Caesar salad.
Okay. All right. We're going to check our Cacciatore is doing really well. Let's give it one more stir here. That's good. The fettuccine's cooked. Now we're going to make, from scratch, a traditional Caesar salad. Now I got a nice loaf of a crusty baguette here. We're just going to take off about 4 inches of it. All right, and then we're going to save the rest of this bread for the dinner. Now, you can buy your croutons, everybody can buy them, but they're so easy to make, and while you're making the salad, the croutons can finish in the oven. We preheated the oven to about 400 degrees, and we're just going to take our bread, slice it in half, and make little strips with it. That's a nice crusty piece of bread. Nice, not even doing good on it here. There we go. Now I'm going to make the Caesar dressing with the classic method with the raw yolk. But if you don't want to use that, you can also use a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise when I get to that point. But the croutons, just throw them in a bowl. A little salt, a little pepper, and just a tablespoon of olive oil. Toss it around like that. You don't even have to take an unoiled cookie sheet. Oh, there goes one. I got all kinds of stuff jumping off the plates today. And into the oven. So while that's in the oven, by the time you have the dressing done, it'll be ready to take out. All right. Small bowl and a little whisk. Now, I went ahead, I just have the egg yolk. Okay. So we're going to add that into our bowl. 1 egg yolk. And then we're going to add, I'm going to eyeball it, stir it in a little bit. About a 1/4 cup there to start off. Blend that in a little bit. All right. Now I went ahead and minced 2 cloves of garlic. Okay, nice fine mince. And add that in. Now earlier when I had prepared our romaine, I just took the romaine and trimmed it off, rinsed it, and got it ready in the bowl. Okay, then we're going to take, now what I have here is I have just a regular can of anchovies, a little small can. It's the 2-ounce can. I'm going to go ahead and I use some of the anchovy oil in there. And then we're going to take 5 or 6 fillets, depending on how big they are. Okay, just give them a real quick mince. One more time there. Definitely smells like anchovies. Okay, mince that in, or stir that in real quick. Got to get it kind of, there we go. And now we're going to take a lemon. Now when you want to juice the lemon, we're going to use the whole juice of 1 lemon. Just roll it like this to break it up inside a little bit so it'll juice easier for you. Cut it in half. Now this one looks pretty good on the seeds, but just in case, just let it go through your fingers to keep the seeds from going into your dressing. And I got rid of the seeds there. Whisk that in. All right, we're going to add a little more olive oil. Now we got to add some Dijon mustard. All right. I'll tell you about a nice full teaspoon Dijon mustard. And about 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire. You can always add a little more once you taste the flavor. A little bit of pepper, about half a teaspoon, and a teaspoon of salt. So this is making a dressing from scratch. Now, the last thing we need to add to this before we test the flavor is a little bit of Parmesan. You go ahead, pre-grate. I got a nice aged Parmesan. Let's whisk that in there. All right. That's all you have to do. Take your lettuce and drizzle it around. That's a very strong dressing, so you don't have to use a lot of it. You'll be surprised how it covers. Now, like I said, you don't have to use the egg yolk if you don't want. You can just substitute the 1/4 cup of virgin olive oil and the egg yolk for basically about a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. All right, and then a little more cheese to finish. Our croutons should be done already. Okay. Toss them in there, and the heat from the crouton will actually wilt it a little bit, which actually adds to the overall appearance and flavor. And that's it. There's a classic Caesar salad for you. The fettuccine is cooked, cacciatore is ready, and we're ready to get everything on plates and try our dinner.
When you start with local produce, add some homegrown Carolina pride, and mix it all with a commitment to family, you get more than a locally based grocery store. You get the taste of home. Lowe's Foods. Lowe's Foods, proud sponsor of the Coastal Kitchen and ATM CTV.
Thanks so much for sharing your recipe with us, Dave. I know your mom was a good cook because I'm going to try this real quick. Thank you so much for joining us at the Coastal Kitchen. Check us out on Facebook. Search for the Coastal Kitchen, and we'll see you next time. Remember, it's all in the way you like it.
Well, yeah, it's just like Mom's. Very good.
Cheers.
Thank you.